The fact that the victims' names are released, the co-conspirators are redacted, and then they just released 300 random names. Like, there is literally nothing you could say to defend that. How did you accidentally release victims' names and accidentally cover up all of the co-conspirators of Jeffrey Epstein?
This is for educational and entertainment purposes only.
Hello, and welcome to the Think Tank. We use critical thinking, deductive reasoning, and just a pinch of common sense to draw unbiased and logical conclusions. Now, I'm here to debate why victims' names were released to the tune of tens of thousands and not a single co-conspirator was revealed. They went after the Clintons. They said, Donald Trump said, oh, Clinton was guilty. Clinton, Bill Clinton, Bubba. When it happened, I said, well, let's put our critical thinking skills to the test. This is a think tank. Clinton is going to use this to direct an attack at Trump. And as it happened, it was quite true. Donald Trump said Clinton was guilty. Clinton wouldn't testify before Congress. He wanted to do it publicly. Trump blocked it, would not let the testimony go public. And now Clinton is saying, well, Trump is guilty. Trump is guilty. Suddenly, Donald Trump is trying to protect Bill Clinton. Not attack him, but protect him. Oh, it's an atrocity. He should not be persecuted this way after being the one to persecute him. So, that was the update on everything where we're at. And we're going to get ready to discuss this. Here to talk about this with me is my co-host, as always, the Honorable Dion Powell.
Hi, everybody. This really is Dion Powell, the Bronx Third Party, community leader, consultant, and strategist. So, number one, Leo, I have to fact check you. Donald Trump's name is not mentioned over a million times in these files. That's been proven.
That hasn't been proven. When Thomas Massie, the congressman, went in to view the files, one of the only three people that got a chance to view the files from Congress, Thomas Massie said his name was mentioned over a million times.
That's alleged. But anyway, I'll let the viewer research that. He's mentioned thousands of times, just like a lot of other people.
We'll say alleged, but according to one of the only people in Congress to see the files, his name was mentioned over a million times. Now, it is alleged.
Which means it's not true.
That doesn't mean it's not true. That means it's not proven. But this man has a track record of being accurate with numbers.
Okay, according to our partners at Ground News, we're going to go to articles that are highly factual. Even though they lean right, they're highly factual, okay? Right here from the National Desk, it says the DOJ declares full release of Epstein files, but lists over 300 names, sparks backlash. And this goes into what I said, a few times. Attorney General Pam Bondi announced in a letter to Congress that the Justice Department has released what she describes as all of the Epstein files, saying the agency has fulfilled its obligations under the Epstein Transparency Act. But the disclosure ignites fresh controversy, not only over what was released, but how. Including the letter is a list of roughly 300 prominent individuals whose name appeared somewhere in the Epstein records. The list includes government officials and others the department classifies as politically exposed persons. While some individuals had documented ties to Jeffrey Epstein's, others are included despite no public evidence ever communicated with him or his longtime associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. None of those referenced are the late cultural figures such as Elvis Presley, Princess Diana, Marilyn Monroe, and Kurt Cobain. Inclusions that critics argue blur distinctions between mere mentions and documented associations. Democratic Representative Ro Khanna accused the department of purposely muddying the waters, writing on X that placing figures like Janis Joplin, who died when Epstein was a teenager, on the same list as convicted sex offender Larry Nassar, with no clarification of how either was mentioned in the files, is absurd. Now, this is another article that I just showed everybody. It's highly factual, however, leans right. Now, this says Donald Trump, Obama's, and Clinton's among 300 named in full Epstein list, because we're talking about the full list now, Leo. Inclusions in the files does not imply wrongdoing or even direct contact with Epstein. So you see, Leo, the point I'm trying to make that I kind of warned about on several episodes, I'm not going to say predicted like you did, is that just because your name is mentioned in the Epstein files doesn't mean you're guilty of anything. So we have to make that discussion. Even though a lot of bad, horrible things happen, we should go after those people, but it's not highlighted as hyper focused as Donald Trump. And lastly, I'll end with this. On the right, we had Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and some other right-wing nut jobs, I'm sure people think, calling for the Epstein files to be released years before Donald Trump was reelected. But it was not.
Right. Then they got there and hid the files. So, yes, you're right. I did make this prediction, though. I said exactly what would happen. Everybody on the left knew what would happen. Donald Trump released the files, right? He had these files released. Pam Bondi released the files under Donald Trump's exclusive orders, right? And they released every mention that ever came up of anybody that was tied to Epstein. But that's not the co-conspirators. There's a huge difference, a distinction, which even the right-leaning article pointed out that you said that now we predicted what happened. They would release all these names instead of just co-conspirators to muddy the waters, as the article explained, the one you just read. So
Right, but that's not the point, Leo. The
that
point
is the entire point.
No, it's not. The point is people demanded the release of all the files. And so the best thing I tell people all the time is you gotta give the Democrats what they want and just let them talk. You want all the files, you want all the names, here you go, hold that. Now you gotta do your work. What's wrong with that?
They wanted the names of the co-conspirators.
Well, how
The
does the
co-conspirators' names,
determine that?
the co-conspirators' names are still redacted.
Well, somebody has to do some investigation and try to make that public. But in the meantime,
So wait. In your opinion, I got to get this right. Some things are just like remarkable. So in your opinion, releasing 300 names of random people but covering up the co-conspirators is okay?
For now.
For now. Why is it okay to protect the co-conspirators and just dump a bunch of random names?
Because now it is incumbent upon the public, Congress to do their own investigation and come back again.
So you do understand that this goes directly against the law that Congress signed, that Congress wrote, and your president that you love, your uncle, signed into law.
Okay, if that's true, Leo,
It's true.
Okay, then Congress has to do everything within its power with the courts to make the Department of Justice do just that. Or they have to wait until President Trump is out and elect a president that's willing to do so. Or impeach the president of the United States and replace him with somebody else, J.D. Vance or whoever down the food chain that's going to be able to do it. Understand? Those are the options as I see it. There could be more, but those are the mechanisms in place pursuant to the United States Constitution that can be exercised to rectify this matter.
Well,
Nobody's going to be satisfied, Leo. That's going to be the fact that you have to predict.
no, we're
Nobody's going to
not
be satisfied.
satisfied. How can you be satisfied when it's an obvious cover up? The fact that the victims' names are released, the co-conspirators are redacted, and then they just released 300 random names, like, there is literally nothing you can say to defend that. All you can say is,
They
oh,
did
well,
the
then they need
same
to go
thing with
after them.
JFK. They did the same thing with MLK. We might not know these names until 50 years later. Understand? Until a president like Donald Trump comes along and releases them.
Yes, right. The release of the redacted files of Kennedy and Martin Luther King, because those files, Martin Luther King had a case in 1999 that released all the information where his family sued for $1 and won. And all the information came out in 1999. Kennedy, the files were redacted. So, yes and no, 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 there's no yes. Right. The difference between mere mentions of a name, where the name is mentioned in the files just because, things were happening in real time, and co-conspirators such as you can go and see the files that they did release out of the millions of files, the 3 million they had, the 2% that they released. So if the rest of the world is saying there's over 100 million files in America, saying there's 2 million files, that is a cover up on the right, what you're reading is factual. To what degree? It was factual until we found out via Britain that there's hundreds of millions of files. But when you have stuff like this in the files, Donald Trump, he measured the children's vulva and vaginas. When you have things like that in the files, the mainstream media is not covering at all. The mainstream, this is in the files on the Department of Justice website.
Okay.
The mainstream media is not covering it. So obviously, they're not covering the truth.
Now the mainstream media is the problem, Leo. After all
The
this
mainstream media has
stuff,
been the problem. That's why we are here.
yes, yes, yes. Very good. I'm glad to hear you admit it and not me. So my thing is this. Number one, hyper focus on Donald Trump does not help the victims at all. And that's
If maybe if he released the files, nobody would care about him anymore. But he's all over the files, and now we got Thomas Massey saying he's mentioned 1 million times. We have Britain saying there's 100 million files, and Pam Bondi like we released 3 million files. There's 6 million. We released 3 million because of redundancy. Well, we don't want y'all to have to read the files twice. What do you mean read the files twice? You got them redacted. We can't even read them once. This is a ridiculous argument at this point. It's
okay.
utterly ridiculous.
All right. Well, if I can end with this last point, we have to understand that high profile resignations and replacements as Epstein case fallout spread. Now, what does that mean? That means this is the AI, by the way, of Ground News. The release of more than 3 million pages of Jeffrey Epstein related documents by U.S. Department of Justice has triggered global fallout. This is what you understand, affecting politicians, diplomats, business leaders, and royals. Aside from Prince Andrew, those implicated are not accused of sexual wrongdoing. The consequences stem primarily from maintaining relationships with Epstein after he became a sex offender. So after they found out he was a sex offender, not before. So one thing I want to point out, like I've been saying, is that we're hyper focused on Donald Trump when we should look at all the people that have been resigning, stepping down, turning in their crown, etc. And why? Maybe that's the clue we need to find out everybody else.
Hey, everybody. This is your boy Leo. You know me. I've been doing commercials for 15 years, television commercials, radio ads, billboards. Now I'm trying to step it into the big leagues. I want to be an independent filmmaker. I've got the degrees, I've got the experience, and I need your help to make my first independent film, Garot. So Garot is Boys in the Hood meets Clue. So these dudes from Brooklyn is trying to buy their drugs to supply the hood. So they go to the mafia stronghold and they purchase their drugs, but one of them turns up dead. And now there's a race to find out who did it. The Godfather's going to send in his hit squad, Squadra Assassina, to take them out. If they don't figure out who did it because somebody died on his turf and he's not happy and he can't have stuff like that happening in his business. So please, if you want to show support, my Kickstarter campaign is down in the description box. Or the files could just be released. Because every other country is holding the people that are involved with Jeffrey Epstein or were involved with Jeffrey Epstein after he was an offender. They're holding them accountable. Everybody but the MAGA people in this country that stick to Trump no matter what want to hold the people accountable. There's only a small sliver that do not want to hold everyone accountable, and that's in this country.
All right, Leo, you have a valid point. But on top of that, there has to be, number one, real journalism done. Number two, the information that real journalists do has to stop being suppressed. And that's the independent journalism that I'm trying to encourage everybody that we are the media, and now so are you.
I guess that's it for this episode. It's Leon Dion signing out. That episode went a little long.
I know. I was like, just
but
wait.
I had